Hello, and welcome to English Shift. I'm Theo.
And I'm Zara. If you're listening on your way to work, cooking dinner, or just taking a quiet moment for yourself, we're really glad you're here.
You know, there's this moment that happens to every adult, no matter how good their English is. Someone says something, and your brain just stops. It's like the words reach you, but they don't quite land.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes the person speaks quickly. Sometimes the room is noisy. Sometimes you're just tired. And sometimes they use a word you've never heard in your life. You catch a few pieces, but not the whole thing.
And by the time you think, I should ask, the moment has already moved on.
So you smile, you nod, and inside you're thinking, wait, what just happened?
It's such a tiny moment, but it can feel surprisingly uncomfortable. And it happens everywhere, at work, with friends, or even when ordering at a coffee shop. You stand there smiling politely, not really understanding, and hoping the conversation somehow explains itself.
We've all been there. The funny thing is, native speakers miss things too. And when it happens to them, they simply ask again. They check and they clarify. It's completely normal.
But when English isn't your first language, that moment can feel heavier, like you're supposed to understand everything perfectly.
And with that pressure, some people stay quiet. Some try to guess what the other person meant, and sometimes someone pretends they understood.
So today, we're focusing on a moment every English learner knows. When you don't fully understand, but still say, I understand. Because I don't understand feels too direct or uncomfortable. In this episode, we'll show you simple, natural ways to handle those moments smoothly.
And the best part is, we'll walk through it together.
So sit back, enjoy the podcast, and feel yourself becoming more confident.
All right, let's see what this looks like in real life, starting with something most of you already know well.
Zara and I are going to step into a real-life situation. Just listen to what happens.
Listen for that exact moment where the confusion begins.
Okay, Zara, can you quickly flesh out the client report, check the latest figures from the finance team, and send me the final version before our meeting this afternoon?
Sure, no problem. I'll do that.
Thanks. And don't forget to include the changes we discussed yesterday.
Of course. Okay, so I need to update the report, check the figures, add the changes, and send it before the meeting. But wait, what did he mean by flesh out the report? Does he want me to write more? Does he want me to change the layout? I know the word flesh. I learned that in English class, but flesh out? What does that actually mean?
Have you ever had a moment like that? Someone explains a task, you understand maybe 70% of it, but there's one specific phrasal verb or expression used?
And suddenly, that one unfamiliar phrase blocks your whole brain. You miss the next sentence because your brain is stuck trying to understand what flesh out means.
Right. And instead of stopping the conversation to check, what do most people do?
They smile, they say okay, they hope to figure it out on their own later or remember to ask ChatGPT later.
But sometimes that creates an even bigger problem, because guessing can lead to mistakes.
Especially at work. A tiny misunderstanding quickly turns into the wrong task, a missed deadline, or incorrect information.
And the funny thing is, the easiest solution is often just asking one simple question.
But that's the part many English learners find difficult.
It really is. It just feels so uncomfortable every single time to say, sorry, I didn't understand that phrase.
You know, that little scenario we just acted out happens much more often than people admit. The real surprise here is that the problem isn't always your English.
Right. Most of the time, you actually understand almost the entire message. You get the topic, you understand the situation, and you're following along just fine. But then there is just one unfamiliar word or expression, that one small detail is all it takes.
And instantly your brain locks onto that one piece. While you are trying to analyze what that phrase means, the conversation keeps moving. You start overthinking. Should I ask? Am I the only one who doesn't understand that phrase? Will he think my English isn't good enough?
That's when the pressure starts building. We feel like we're supposed to catch every word and every expression the very first time we hear it.
We think that if someone is confident, they never have to ask what a phrase means. But that just isn't how it works.
Think about your native language. Have you ever been talking to someone and said, "Sorry, could you say that again?" Maybe the person spoke too quietly, maybe they explained something a bit too fast, or maybe they used a word you just didn't know.
When that happens in your own language, you don't think, my language skills are bad. You just think, I didn't hear that, or I need a bit more information.
So why do we treat English differently? Why do we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect?
The hardest part isn't the word or expression itself. It's that small moment right afterward when you feel stuck and you're not sure how to ask about that one phrase without sounding unprofessional.
You know you should speak up, but then that little voice in your head says, should I interrupt just for one phrase? Will they think I don't understand English? Maybe I'll just look up flesh out on ChatGPT later. I can figure it out later.
That is the exact moment many people choose the easiest escape route. They smile, they nod, they move on. Sometimes they even pretend they understood everything.
But the real issue is not that you didn't understand. The problem is feeling stuck, feeling too embarrassed to speak up, and not knowing what step to take next.
Communication is never about knowing every single word or expression perfectly.
Confident speakers know that. They know that asking questions is a normal part of communication. They know that checking meaning is standard practice, and asking for clarification is just part of good communication.
The goal is not to avoid these moments entirely, because they happen to everyone.
The goal is simply knowing how to handle them calmly and naturally.
And that is exactly what we are going to look at next.
So now we know something important. Not understanding something doesn't mean your English is bad.
The real skill is knowing how to handle that moment.
And you now, different situations need different responses.
Right. You wouldn't respond the same way in a formal meeting, with a close friend, or on a busy online call where the sound keeps dropping.
So instead of memorizing a long list of phrases,
let's look at real situations and the natural ways to keep the conversation moving.
imagine you're in a meeting. Someone starts explaining a process very quickly. You understand the main idea, but the words are flying at you too fast.
When this happens, a lot of language learners just say, I don't understand.
The issue with saying, I don't understand, is that it tells the speaker there's a problem, but it doesn't tell them what you need. They don't know if you missed one word or the whole concept.
Try this instead. Sorry, that was a bit fast. Could you explain that last part again? Or, could you repeat what you just said about the timeline?
With that phrase, you're not saying your English is bad. You're simply letting them know they need to slow down a little. And you're telling them exactly which part wasn't clear.
Or you could also just say, sorry, could you slow down a little?
Now, that short phrase is great if you just need a moment to breathe.
But remember, whenever you can, pair it with one of the specific questions we just mentioned.
That way, you aren't just telling them to slow down. You are actively showing them exactly which part you are trying to follow.
Absolutely. And when you ask them to repeat the last part, you're helping them. You're not stopping the whole meeting. You're just asking about the one thing you missed.
It keeps you in control of the conversation.
Now, listen to how it sounds. Sorry, that was a bit fast. Could you explain that last part again?
Let's try it together. Sorry, that was a bit fast. Could you explain that last part again? Pause the audio here and say it out loud a few times, just to get comfortable with the words and how they feel when you say them.
Sometimes you're following the conversation, but one important detail is missing. Maybe 90% is clear, but one piece isn't.
This is one of the most useful communication tools you can have. Most of the time, you're not completely lost. You're just missing one specific puzzle piece.
Instead of saying, I don't understand, target the problem directly. You can say, hey, John, I understood the part about the project timeline, but I want to double check one thing. What's the final deadline?
This is another useful phrase because it shows confidence. You're showing that you're paying close attention.
You're basically saying, I'm right here with you. I just want to confirm one detail. It saves time because John only repeats the part you need, not the whole explanation.
By targeting the exact issue, you get the exact answer you need in 5 seconds. Let's practice this phrase. I want to double check one thing. Pause the audio now and try saying it out loud using your colleague's name.
Nice.
Sometimes one small word can stop the whole conversation.
This brings us right back to the workplace scene we did earlier. Sometimes one unfamiliar expression acts like a brick wall.
When someone uses a word you haven't heard before, your first reaction is usually to guess the meaning.
Instead, just say, sorry, what does that expression mean in this context? Or, I haven't heard that expression before. What does it mean?
Remember that asking about a word doesn't mean your English is weak. It shows you're paying attention and want to get it right.
Now picture this. Someone explains something and you want to make sure you understood correctly. This one is especially useful at work because sometimes you understand the words, but you want to confirm the message. You can easily check by saying, just to check I understood correctly. Then repeat the important point. For example, so just to check I understood correctly, you need the report by Friday? This is something confident professionals do all the time. Listen to how the core phrase sounds when you say it smoothly. Just to check I understood correctly. Now let's practice together. Just to check I understood correctly. You can pause the audio right here, try saying it out loud, and get used to how the words roll off your tongue. Now imagine you're in a group conversation. Everyone is talking quickly. You understand some parts, but you miss the connection between ideas. This can feel even harder because you don't want to interrupt. On a busy online call, sometimes people speak fast. A useful phrase here is, sorry, can I just check something? It's a gentle way to enter the conversation. You're not interrupting rudely. You just want to simply clarify. Group conversations move like a fast river. If you wait for a perfect moment of complete silence to speak up, that moment will never come. You will just stay quiet the whole time and feel left out. That is why using this phrase works. It acts like a polite little sign that says, I am stepping into the circle now. People respect that. Listen to how it sounds when you say it with a calm, friendly voice. Sorry, can I just check something? Can you say it? Pause the audio one last time right here. Say it out loud a few times until it feels completely natural. So, after looking at all those situations, there's one important idea we want you to remember.
Because this is something many English learners get wrong. They think becoming confident in English means finding the perfect words every single time.
They think, I need better vocabulary. I need more expressions, more vocabulary. I need to know every idiom and phrasal verb.
And of course, building your vocabulary is important. But real communication is about much more than knowing more words.
A good conversation is not two people trying to prove how much they know. It's two people trying to understand each other. And if they don't understand, they pause, they ask questions, they seek clarification.
The real question is, am I able to keep communicating?
That is the real skill. Smart English is not about perfect words.
It's about keeping the conversation going.
Our confidence needs to shift. Let's go back to that workplace example from earlier. You hear a new phrase you don't know, something like flesh out, and maybe the person explains everything a bit too fast. The old reaction might be, wait, what? Ugh, I'm lost.
But the new reaction is different. It becomes, I'm part of this conversation. I just need one small clarification.
That tiny shift can completely change how you communicate.
Confident communication isn't about understanding everything immediately.
It's about staying in the moment when something isn't clear.
Instead of pulling back, you stay with the conversation.
You ask questions, you clarify a missing detail, and the conversation keeps moving.
All right, let's bring everything together. The next time you don't understand something in English, remember one thing. You don't need to panic. You do not need to pretend you understood. And you do not need to stay silent.
A small moment of confusion doesn't mean your English is bad, especially after all the work you've put into reaching a B2 or C1 level. It simply means you're having a normal conversation.
Remember, smart English is not about perfect words.
It's about keeping the conversation going.
Whether someone speaks too quickly,
Whether you miss one important word,
Or maybe you just want to double check you understood correctly.
now you have ways to handle that moment naturally and confidently. Here's your challenge for this week. Choose one expression or technique from today's episode. Not 5, not 10, just one.
And try to use it in your next English conversation, at work, with a friend, or even in an online meeting.
You're going to notice something really cool when you do this. Real confidence doesn't mean you know every single word in English. True confidence is just knowing exactly what to do when you get stuck or forget a word. Once you have that down, you stop stressing.
That's when the real shift happens. You stop collecting words and start owning your conversations. Keep watching English Shift and watch your confidence grow.
To help you with that, here's a simple technique we'd like you to practice this week. When something feels unclear, just ask the person to repeat the key word. You can simply say, "Sorry, what was that last word?" Doing this helps you stay calm, and it helps the other person slow down naturally.
You know, I actually use that one all the time when my brain just completely shuts off.
Same. And honestly, it works every single time. Now, we want to hear from you. Let's be real for a second. Have you ever just nodded along and pretended to understand something in English when you actually had no idea what was happening?
maybe it happened during a big meeting at work or while chatting with a group of friends. You're just standing there smiling and praying nobody asks you a follow-up question.
If that's you, simply write yes in the comments or share your story below. Your experience might be exactly what helps another English learner.
All right, if today's episode helped you, please remember to like the video, share it, and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to English Shift if you haven't already.
And if you're already part of the English Shift community, thank you. We really appreciate you being here and growing with us.
Remember, you don't need to change your accent or sound like anyone else. English is just a tool to let your real personality shine through. Your voice is already enough. Just keep shifting forward, one conversation at a time. We'll see you in the next episode of English Shift. Until then, keep learning, keep speaking, and keep shifting forward. Bye, everyone.